I'm Sheriff Wayne Ivey, the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, and it's time for another great episode of On the Go with BCSO. As always, I'm joined by our co-host, Sergeant Jay Martinez. And Jay, it's always great to do these, sit down and just let our citizens learn about all the different aspects of our agency and stuff. And I know you're out at our Canaveral precinct, but today you're here at headquarters, and we're going to have a little fun with one of our K9 deputies.
It's good to be here.
We got Sean Crook, one of our corporals, our K9 deputy. And Sean, always great to have you, buddy.
Good to see
you out there a lot. Different things you guys do, but you're what I would consider one of the luckiest people in the agency, because you get to go to work every day with your best friend and
I agree.
Have your partner with you. So how long you been to K9 Unit?
16 years.
16 years. All right. What led you that way, man?
I've always had a love for dogs, always. And at the time when I was in my early stages of being a deputy, I didn't have a house. I didn't have a house with a fenced-in yard. And the moment that I got a house and I got a fenced-in yard, a position for K9 came up. I put in for it, and I got lucky enough to get it. And I've been here ever since.
Excellent, excellent. Now, how many dogs have you had since you've been here?
I've had 4.
4 of them. All right. So let's talk about that a little bit, because one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, how long does a dog work? How long do we get them? What age do we usually get them at?
A long time ago, we'd get them at 2 years because of the, being puppies and everything else. But now if you get a dog that's 2 years old, the question comes up like, what's wrong with it? Right. So now we get them 13 months to 18 months old. I have 2 dogs in the school right now. One of them is, we've been in a month. So one of them is 14 months now, and the other one is 19 months old.
So if we get them too young, then they got too much puppy.
We deal with the puppy issues, right?
And so you can't really focus on their training and everything else. If we get them older, obviously it decreases their longevity.
Well, you wonder how come they haven't been picked yet. Why have they been looked over, and why are they so old now?
Okay. All right. Same thing I wondered about you, Jay.
Yeah, well, I wondered why you. You got me really young. I started when I was 12.
Exactly.
For 16 years
now. Me too.
So we get them 13, 18 months in that time frame. Where do we get our dogs from?
We have vendors here in the state that we go to. Do you want me to name the vendors?
Yeah, that's fine. I know we've had some great success with our dogs.
Yes, we have. We get them from Southern Coast K9 up in New Smyrna, and we also get them from Excelsior K9 in Yalaha, Florida.
Okay.
We've had great success with both companies. They both deliver a fantastic dog, and of course, as big as our K9 unit is, we buy a lot of dogs from them, whether it be from our specific unit where we have 13 to the bomb dog over in the port. They also have drug dogs. I mean, we have a lot of dogs in the sheriff's office. So when we come to a vendor, they realize, hey, these guys, they purchased a lot of dogs from us. So I don't want to say that we get the cream of the crop, but I think we get the cream of the crop when we go there. And I think that it shows with our dogs.
I think a lot of people don't realize, we have right at 40 dogs in our agency, between our patrol dogs, our bomb dogs, our bloodhounds, our child therapy dogs, all the different dogs that we have right at 40 dogs. And so when we go buy a dog, and that 13-month-old puppy, how much does one of those cost?
For patrol, it's $8,500.
So $8,500. Now we now bring the dog back, and we're going to do some training with. Is it like a week-long course that they go through?
I wish. Our basic patrol school, which isn't an odor, nothing to do with odor as far as drugs or bombs or anything like that, is 480 hours.
So patrol school is learning to do building searches, protect the deputies, chasing after bad people, apprehension, even article searches and stuff.
Yes,
which
article searches, tracking. Of course, we start with obedience.
Right.
And that's where my guys are at now. We call it walking the mile, because they're just out there. You have to put in the hours. You have to put in the time, walking, and teaching the dog to walk beside you on a specific side, and making them sit, making them lay down, and then we get into distance control, where you have to be 30 feet away for our certification for the distance control, hand or voice. Right. So it takes a lot of hours, and they put in a lot of work.
Yeah.
I put in a lot of work training them too.
So how many hours on the patrol side?
480.
All right. And then we take them into the narcotics side of it.
Correct.
And how many hours is that?
160.
So when the dog comes through all of that training, we're looking at now about a $40,000 investment in our agency.
At least.
Yeah. So, it's obviously a great tool, a great resource for us. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people, Jay, you're out in patrol, so you see it. It's not just about the dog coming out and searching a car. We use them in all different capacities.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, what's one of the greatest things that we have to bridge the gap between us and a lot of times kids? Sometimes they'll see us in uniform and they're like a little apprehensive, but if you bring a dog, especially one of our bomb dogs that are a little bit more approachable, they don't have that same protection instinct that maybe some of the patrol dogs do. They go crazy for them, absolutely, especially the bloodhounds. They go absolutely crazy for them.
Absolutely.
Most people love dogs.
Yeah.
Everyone loves dogs, and when you bring the dog out, the first thing you hear is the "aw."
Yeah.
Of course, I had a dog that nobody went "aw" about, but
Right.
this one
That was Arco.
That was Arco.
Yeah.
Yes, that was Arco.
Yeah, if you required oxygen to live, Arco didn't like you. It didn't matter what it was. It was a squirrel or flower or whatever.
Right.
So,
And I've got Dano now, and he's a 2-year-old Belgian Malinois. He's a great dog. He's a lover.
Yeah. So obedience training is the first part of it. Now, you have to recertify every year.
Yes, sir.
With the dog. Now, one of the things that I really want to bring out today is we do all of our own training. In fact, we not only train for our agency, we train for overwhelmingly the majority of the agencies in our community, in our county, and even agencies from Central Florida that come from all over to train with you guys. I tell everybody our canines are the best of the best. I mean, they're just legitimate, great dogs that are out there getting it done. So the training that we do, walk me through it. You said earlier the obedience part. What comes after that?
After obedience, I go into teaching them area searches and building searches. Once we get done with the area, and I don't want to say done because you're never done. It's constant training every week. But once we get to where they're doing the area search and building search well, then we'll go back into what we call the field work, which is where we do the apprehension work and teaching the dogs to recall, which means that you have a guy running. You send your dog after the guy and you recall him or the girl and you recall him back to you without touching him, without any help from any device at all.
So to get certified in the patrol, you have to teach your dog to recall, and then really and truly, that's difficult in itself.
I volunteered for that once, and it's
to
hard
try and recall.
to recall. And they said,
Were they calling you back or were they?
No, they're
you
the
were
dog.
zooting, okay.
They put this sleeve on and they say run, and we're gonna let the dog go, and no leash, no, just run. So here I am trotting along, and I hear this dog getting closer and closer, and they do the recall, and sure enough, the dog turned right around. I'm telling you, I was,
It is very exhilarating whenever you're running down the field, and I've been doing it for 16 years, and still today, you get a dog at you figure 30 plus miles an hour that's coming at you, and it's just you in a sleeve, or if you're in a suit, it's even worse because you don't have the balance that you have with just a sleeve on.
Yeah.
And they hit you at 30 miles an hour, and there's a lot of technique in it to where you can take that energy and put it somewhere else so that it's not all on your body and you're not jamming the dog's neck and everything. So
I wore the whole bike suit one time. I looked like the Michelin Man.
Yes,
but
it's all that.
it was not good. But I think you bring up a great point too that I didn't realize until I started coming out with you guys and seeing so many of your demonstrations and stuff. But when you're catching that dog, they're out there. They're running about 35 miles an hour. The dog is going after the suspect. But when you guys are training and you're catching that dog over and over and over again, if you just lock in and you go to catch that dog, some of them weighing 100 pounds, you not only run potential of injuring yourself, but also in injuring the dog.
Correct.
And, why is that?
If you don't have the proper technique, you can really hurt a dog. I mean, you figure he's running 30 miles an hour, 30 plus, and then he hits a wall. He's going to have damage, whether it be a vertebrae or something in his neck. And even if it doesn't show up now, it may show up later in an injury then. So there's a very good technique to where, as the dog's coming into you, you spin and take all of his inertia and take it, you basically spin and go with the dog. Now you have to be careful also because he's coming so fast. When you spin, you have to get your footing proper because if you don't, you're going to go face first on the other side. So there's a fine art to it, and we don't allow runoffs for brand new handlers who haven't had the proper training. and how to catch a dog, because you can really mess a dog up. I mean, it's and you can also hurt yourself. I mean, my shoulders and my elbows and everything else just from years of doing this. I mean, you wake up in the morning like the Tin Man. Yeah. It's almost like you want to oil your joints.
I seen you do a demo and you were talking about the ballerina, with the lead, how you always have to be ready to.
I wish I would have taken ballet as a child so that I had the good footing, and the proper balance. Because man, when I first got into canine, it was rough because it was a lot different world then, and it was just like, go down into the field. Yes, sir. I'll go down into the field. Here's a sleep. And they sent the dog on you, and you're just like, oh, okay, what do I do? And you caught the dog, and you had to kind of figure it out. Now, of course, with proper training and the evolution of canine training, now we do things a lot differently. So it's not so hard on the handlers and, of course, the dog.
So obviously a lot of physical engagement in training the dogs and everything else. Now, I know our dogs don't work for a food reward or a snack. Most of them work for a toy. That's their drive. In fact, when we're looking for the right dog, we're at our locations we're getting them from. We're looking for the right dog. We're looking for ball drive.
Yes.
And what is ball drive?
Ball drive is the you have to love something. You have to want to work for something. So whether it be a ball, whether it be a tug, whether it be a jute toy, they have to have that drive to find something and to hunt for it. And we'll hide it in a room. Our vendors that we go to have great setups to where you go in and it's like a barn setting, but it has different rooms that are set up like houses. And they'll have dressers and TVs, and they'll have beds, and they'll have ball pits, and they'll have all kinds of different things to hide the toy in. Well, they hide the toy in there, and the dog goes in and he hunts for the toy, and he scratches at the cabinet or whatever he does to try to get that ball out of there. But the real hunt drive comes in is when you pretend to put it in there, and we watch a dog go into a room that has no toy in it, and he never stops searching for it. He wants to find, because they show it to him and they tease him with it, and they take it in that room, and when they come back out of the room, they have it in their pocket, and he doesn't realize that. Some dogs are pretty sharp, though. They'll catch that odor of that toy, and they'll follow him around going, hey, I know you got it here. But
so that's their drive. That's what they're wanting.
That is their drive. Yes, you have to have something.
I got to get you
what drives me. Yeah,
I got to get you like a tug toy or something. To see.
Piece of fire hose.
So,
I have one in the truck if you like one.
If I could get this guy motivated, that's what I could do. So it's funny that Jay says a piece of fire hose, but for the overwhelming majority of our dogs, their favorite toy is a piece of fire hose.
There's nothing like seeing a guy throw a 12-inch fire hose and throw it down the field, and the dog chase it like it's a steak, Like if they threw a steak down the field that was cooked nice, I'd chase it.
Yeah. What I like about it is it's cheap. We go buy the fire trucks and cut it off in the middle of the night. They don't even know.
Right. Yeah, we just leave the hose bib there for them.
Exactly. We don't have to pay out a budget to get toys for the dogs. So you guys usually carry their toy with you? And,
yes, most of us carry them on our person within a pocket or something.
Yeah, and so when the dog does what they're supposed to do, boom, there's the reward.
We call it paying them.
Okay.
When I'm teaching a school, I say pay them. Whenever they do what they're supposed to, I'm like, pay them. They did what you wanted them to do. Pay them. Mm-hmm. Because they're only going to do so much without being paid. It's like us. I'm not going to come to work. Well, I would for you, Sheriff. But
thank you.
I'm not going to come to work without a paycheck. And the dog is the same way. If you have him do if you have him do 14 things at once rather than doing one or two things, he's going to get bored and kind of veer and be like, well, he's not going to give me my toys. So what am I doing out here? So we call it paying him, and you pay the dog, and he gets his reward, and he's all happy, and he runs around like he's the greatest thing in the world, which they are.
Yeah, it's really neat too. When I'm out with you guys, and we do so many ride-alongs where our citizens come out and ride with me. And one of the things I always do is take them out and let them see the canines at work. But it's so neat. As soon as the dog gets out of the truck, they are looking up. They know where you carry the toy, whether it's in your back pocket, up in your vest pocket, wherever it is. They're looking, and they're just sitting there looking up the whole time to get that reward. But there is one thing that they like better than that piece of fire hose or that tug, and that's that bite sleeve. And,
bite sleeve or the bite suit, absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing to watch the demeanor change. Yeah. From happy dog, I see my toy, that guy's in a bite suit, Dad. And it's just... It's instant, and the demeanor of the dog completely changes instantly. He's like, and the funny thing about it is they're still having fun.
Yeah, that's
they're
funny.
Still having
you
fun.
Look at them, and you wonder what their temperament is when they're doing that stuff, and you would think it's vicious, but they're just having a good time.
Yeah, because they're not really mad.
No, they're not mad at all. Yeah.
So when they're chasing the bad person, and we've sent them to catch somebody that's trying to flee from us, they're not mad. I think the average citizen, me included, before I started, going to some of the demonstrations, was that, oh, that dog's mad, he's vicious. Actually, that's the word you hear, vicious. He's just trying to play. Is really
right.
what
You're a live toy. Yeah. Is basically what you are.
I heard one of our team one time say that the dog doesn't have the ability to be mad; it has the ability to be defensive, protective, and play. And of course, defensive is somebody attacking the dog. Protective, somebody attacking you.
Right.
And then everything else is play drive.
And you'll see the difference too. If a dog is defending himself, he's just like us defending ourselves. If you come up and you strike me, I'm going to be angry about it. It's human nature, and a dog is the same way. If you come up and kick the dog, he's going to be angry. If you hit the dog, he's going to be angry. So it's not going to be the same scenario as okay, you're hiding, you have a gun, you have whatever, and what we call physically apprehend you. It's not, we're not out here to hurt anybody. We're out here to just gain compliance.
All right. So let's talk about a term that I've heard you guys use a lot, and that is attitude runs down the lead.
Absolutely.
Tell me about that.
I'll just give you an example. I have 2 new guys in school, and I explained to them that, listen, when I see you getting frustrated, I'm going to tell you to, without emotion, just take your dog and put him in the truck, and then come back down and sit down in the chair and just relax for a minute and calm down, because if you're angry, he feels that. So, and most of the time he's confused and he doesn't understand why you're angry. He doesn't understand really what he did, because their thought process is about 3 seconds long, if that. Yeah. So, like mine too, Jay. Mine too.
I'm starting to think Jay's a kid.
He smells a lot better though. But
don't you run?
If I see them getting frustrated, or if I see a handler who's, even if they come to work and they're having a bad day and they're in a bad mood, you can see that in the performance of their dog whenever they're, when they come to training and they're working their dog. And I'll go, hey, is everything okay? Oh, I just had a bad day at home, whatever, or last night was really rough, or whatever it happens to be. And it really shows in the dog, because the dog is confused and he doesn't understand. So if you're upset and you're mad, he's upset and he doesn't know why you're mad, and he thinks you're mad at him. Or even if you're mad at him, because, we're human beings, we get frustrated. Right. So attitude absolutely runs down. You see the guy out there and his knees are high and he's good boy, good boy, good boy. And you can watch the dog literally, he'll actually come up and just be on his tiptoes, walking next to him, having a great time, because the handler's attitude is so good.
Brings up an interesting point. I hear you guys a lot of times when you're telling the dogs good job and good boy, you do it in a very elevated voice.
Absolutely.
Why? What is the
it's exciting. It's like talking to a 3-year-old. You don't, if we have handlers, and it's so funny because you get the guys that have the really deep grumble voices, and getting them to bellow out a good boy in a really high pitched voice.
So you got to do that for us now. So let's just say, Jay did something really good right now. How would you say it?
Good boy. Now
we're all happy now.
Your turn.
Good boy.
Sure.
Good boy. This is nuts.
No, we're all happy. It works.
It does. It makes you happy and it makes you laugh, and it's really funny to see a bunch of grown, big, burly men, who are handling. We're canine handlers. We're, tough guys and everything else. And you hear them across the field. Good. You can hear them for miles. Good boy. And we're laughing, of course, in the background.
Nobody ever said we picked the really smart ones to put in canines. So, we've laughed a lot, and obviously you can tell, Sean, you love your job so much. But there's tough parts of your job too. And,
there is.
I heard you say earlier that the dog just wants to make daddy happy, but that's your partner, it's your best friend, and at some points you have to send them into pretty critical situations, some violent situations. What's that like from a handler's perspective?
In the moment you don't think about it, because if you think about it, you're going to hesitate, and you don't want to hesitate. It's really after the fact. It's when you think about, man, that could have went really bad. That could have been. Something could have happened to my dog, and it could be environment. It could be a subject that we're going after. It could be a lot of things. And you don't think about it going in. You're just going in to do your job. And that, and we preach that whenever you get into canine, that our dogs lead us to the danger. They don't take us away from it. They lead us to it. So you understand that, in the ultimate sacrifice, he is the police dog. He's out front. He's the one that's ahead of everybody else. So he is the one that's in the most danger. And his nose is telling him, hey, we're going over here. That's
got to be tough. I mean, this is your best friend. I see you guys all the time. I mean, I have Junie with me all the time. I know how much I love Junie, and it's got to be tough sending your dog, and not that Junie would ever go into a dangerous situation. I mean,
maybe with some treats,
unless there was somebody in there French fried or something, he might go in there for that. But you're sending your dog into an environment. Maybe it's a building search, chasing a fugitive through the woods or whatever it is, and that could be the bad situation. But I think the way that you kind of deal with that is that dog's saving a deputy's life or keeping a deputy from having to be in that scenario. Yes. And so,
yes, especially in a building with buildings are actually every situation is so unknown. Even if we have intel, even if we have, we've dealt with the guy before, you just never know what you're dealing with in this moment because all of us can be a different person every hour of every day. So when you're going into those situations, it's scary to think about.
Right. So when the dog's not working and not ripping fire hoses up, they're at home with you.
They're at home.
And what are they like there?
They're just a dog.
So
just a big goofy dog. When the switch changes is when I come out to my patrol car and he can see it. I come out to the patrol car and I start it up. And that's when the switch changes.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of you guys say too the Velcro on the vest.
Yes, if they hear the Velcro inside the house, if they can hear, because they have kennels, and my kennels are actually on my back porch, so they have a line of sight right directly to me. And when I get up in the morning time and when he hears that. He absolutely starts going crazy.
Wow. Just
jumping around like, oh my God, we're going to work. We're finally going to work, because to them, 10 minutes was 3 days,
right?
Waiting to go back to work. So,
yeah, I know. And you just lost Arco not too long ago.
I did.
Arco had been a great team member and a lot of captures and a great tough dog, but we lost him not long ago. But one of the neat stories, and I think kind of really tells how much the switch flips when they're at home versus work, was with Arco. Your wife Tabitha would walk him out to the car, put him in the car, and then once she put him in the car, she couldn't take him out of the car.
She could not get near the car.
Yeah, so I mean, just shows you how much they flip that switch. And then even when you turn the blue lights on or the tone alert on the radio.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They pick up on so many little things, like when you hit your blue lights and they hear the beep.
Yeah.
They learn that, hey, we're going to work. It's go time now. So they start whining and panning. And then when the blue lights come on, or when the lights and siren come on, and they're hearing that wailing and everything else from the lights and siren, and of course our speeds pick up a little bit, and we're doing things a little quicker than just normal driving. They get really excited. They're just running around back behind you, and sometimes it's even hard to hear the radio because they're so excited and barking. Oh yes.
So we get them when they're 13 months old. There comes a point where ball drive starts to decline. They don't get as excited when they hear the Velcro or things going on. You're evaluating your dog. What time is that usually? How many years in?
It depends on the dog, and what we try to do is we try to look at every one of our dogs, and we've had dogs that have lasted until they're 10 years old, and then some dogs they don't make it to 7 before. What we want them to do is when they retire, we want them to have a good life at home. We don't want them to be crippled, and you don't realize that getting in and out of the patrol car all the time, every day is hard on their joints.
That dog's going to jump up in and out of that patrol car probably 50 times a day.
Right. So that's hard on the joints. And when you start seeing them, if we have a really physical night of training, or we have a really physical night at work, and the next day we get up and the dog's limping, or he's having a hard time getting up off of a slick floor, and that becomes a regular occurrence, and we realize, hey, it's probably that time. I don't know that any of them really ever lose the drive, because that's everything to them. The police car, when they get in that, it's their whole world.
They retire. You get to take them home with you.
We get first dibs on them.
One of the things I'm really proud of that our agency does, I don't know if other agencies does this or not, but when the dog retires, we, for the rest of their lives, we pay for their food, their vet bill, which is really great because since we have animal services, we have two outstanding vets that work for our agency that take care of our dogs. And then they retire and live out the rest of their lives just as a family pet.
Yes.
And that's kind of their retirement plan, if you will.
Yeah.
Jay, I can put you on that same retirement plan if you want. So, I can feed
No,
you.
I'll take the
If he's offering food and medical, I mean, that's a really good deal.
medical actually is probably
Yeah, medical's not bad. So, we could talk about canines all day, but we're getting out of time here. Sean, thanks not only for being on the show, but for what you do for this agency, man. It's easy to see the passion in your face of how much you love being a canine deputy for the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, and I know you're one of our premier trainers out there, and all of your team, and certainly we appreciate it, my brother. So
thank you so much.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks.
We're out of time, and hopefully you learned all about canines here in the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, and we'll see you or talk to you next time on the Go with BCSO.